Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to part 3 of my incredible video interview with Binky Phillips of the Planets. This guy, I tell you, amazing rock and roller and source of rock and roll history from the New York City music scene from the late 60s all the way through to the present. He's an incredible guy and he's brought so much to the channel. I want to thank him personally right now if he's watching. Thank you, Binky. And for those of you that have enjoyed it, please leave comments engaging Binky and letting him know how you feel because I'm trying to talk him into doing more social media. As I call him, he's like a rare unicorn out there, especially in Kiss Land for vlogs and stuff like that. He hardly speaks to anyone. Why he chose to speak to me, I don't know, but I'm extremely grateful. Now, as much as I would like to continue to have Binky on my channel, I would like to see him have his own channel, and I've put the idea forth to him because he has so many great stories to share and so much information that he could have a very successful channel of his own. So regardless, do me a favor in the comments, please let Binky know that he's loved and appreciated and that you would in fact support him either having a channel of his own and or appearing on my channel on a fairly regular basis. So now with that out of the way, the first part two and part one and part two rather, we covered so much ground with Kiss, The Who, and just amazing stories. We're gonna get more into Binky's life in New York City right now in this theme with CBGB, sorry, Max's Kansas City, and Binky's incredible guitar collection. So without any further ado, here it is, part 3 of my interview with the incredible Binky Phillips. Now, Binky, actually, speaking of that demo you played for Gene, that might be the perfect segue because I want to take it back to the Planets, if you don't mind.
Wonderful.
You great influential rock and roll band. I mean, to this day, that time capsule of that specific time in New York City rock and roll history, that band, that music, guys in REM were influenced by you. I mean, like
No.
the ripples and waves that have carried on till today. You should be proud of that, first of all.
Yeah,
You know,
it's taken me a long time to realize that I was part of something special, but I do know now without sound. I mean, it was just pure timing and luck. It had nothing to do with me really, but I was part of something special. That CBGB scene was there can't it's the myth. Whatever you've ever heard is true. I mean,
yeah.
it's really that the amount of the intense vibe of music loving. That was the thing until the Dead Boys changed. They turned CBGBs into a punk club,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
before that, it was a music club.
Music club. That's
Uh,
right.
I'll
I
tell you
wanted to
this.
ask you specifically, if I may, real quickly. Someone wanted me to ask you, a viewer wanted to ask, a fan of yours, with Jonathan the dog having leaving landmines of shit everywhere.
Oh
Did you ever work up the nerve to eat Hilly's chili?
yes, as a matter of fact, uh, this is very early. This is when there was only like what the Planets were one of about 8 bands that played CBGBs.
Yeah.
It was like in the infancy, and yeah, he had these 2 dogs. I forget what they were called, but they were kind of like whippets with long hair.
Yeah.
And
Afghans.
reddish. Which one?
Afghans? Afghans?
It might have been. It might have been. I
Okay.
think it was something more exotic than that. But
Yeah.
whatever they were very big and they were very slim and very delicate looking, and they would leave piles of shit
Yeah.
all over the floor, like this big, like enormous, horrible. And one of the things that the Planets did early on was we wanted to ingratiate ourselves to Hilly. So we were coming down fairly often. We were coming down like once or twice a week, and uh, I decided that one of the ways that I could let Hilly know that I like was especially interested in his friendship and his mentoring was ordering Hilly's chili.
Yeah.
So I get a bowl, and no, the other planets were like, no fucking way.
Because it was infamous and famous at the same
Yeah,
time, right?
and it was delicious. In fact, I'm not making this up. I'm not
Yeah.
saying this just for this show. It might have been the best chili I'd ever had.
Is that
And
right?
yeah, it was great chili. It was so flavorful. And I ate the whole thing, the bowl, and I was like, I gotta tell Hilly how good this is. So,
Wow.
and I know he's in the back. And this room was converted to a dressing room, but in the back was a kitchen. And it was very crude, very old and dirty.
Yeah.
And Hilly was standing at the stove, and in slow motion he was stirring this pot of chili that was like, I mean, like enormous. And he's stirring it, and I said, I just had a bowl of the chili, Hilly. It's fantastic. Oh, thank you very much. And I looked down, and a foot away from his boot was a pile of dog shit. And I had eaten chili from a kitchen that had a pile of dog shit on the
Oh,
floor.
no.
So I never had another. I never ate anything. And the fact is that the whole food thing disappeared within. That didn't last more than about 3 months. It was
Yeah, it was
just
probably something to do with getting a liquor license. I know in Canada it's like that. Some places used to be you had to serve food in order to serve alcohol. Maybe it was something like
oh,
that.
well, maybe it might have been. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it was abandoned.
I got to tell you, that question came from a person by the name of their YouTube name is Music Tracker, MUZIKTRKR, and he gave a list of those kind of question. Did you ever use the toilet at CB's? Would you agree that Lance Loud was the first reality TV star? Do you have any accounts of encounters with Lance?
You know what? I'll ask. I'll answer these questions nice and quick. What's the first question?
The first
Yes,
question was, did you ever use the toilet at
not
CBGB's? Of course you did.
not in the men's room.
No.
I used the urinal, but the one time in my life that I had to sit down, I went into the women's room, which was
Smart man.
was gross, but not. I mean, the men's room was completely disgusting. What's the next
Yeah.
question?
And he wanted to ask you about Lance Loud of the Mumps. Would you agree that he was the first
Yeah,
ever
yeah,
reality TV star? And did you ever have any encounters with him?
yes. Number one, yes, he was the first. He really was certainly the first baby boomer hip reality star. In fact, maybe really just the first period. Um, his band, the Mumps, with the Planets and the Mumps shared bills a couple of times. So Lance knew me, I knew Lance. I would never say we were friends, but we would, when we saw each other, it was like, "Hi, Lance. Hi, Binky." As the Mumps were pretty good. The Mumps were kind of if the Mumps were kind of like if kind of like Village Green Preservation Society by the Kinks, like
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, 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 yeah.
kind of like gentle pop but sophisticated.
Yeah.
That's what the Mumps sounded like. And and
Oh, okay.
and 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 Lance wasn't much of a singer. He sold the song with his personality. Next question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just I'm gonna give one more because there's a series of them here. What I'll do is I'll put them on the screen for the viewers at home to see. But this one's a good one, actually. Do you have any stories about Andy Warhol or his proteges, some of which Lou Reed named in Walk on the Wild Side? Do you have any
Right.
stories about any of, Little Joe and anyone from
Well,
that?
um, the only thing that I can say is, I mean, just as an example, is David Bowie's very first gig in America. I'm not America, in New York. It was his second gig in America, but it was his first gig in New York was Carnegie Hall. And Carnegie Hall has a beautiful lounge, which is unusual
Okay.
like a full bar, and and tables and whatever. And we got to the Bowie show like half an hour before it was going to start. And we went to the lounge, and for about 2 minutes, I stood next to Andy Warhol.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
he was right here, and he had a couple of his not Hollywood Lawn. What's the other? Jackie Curtis was there. Um, but no, that was a completely different world. That was,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the Andy Warhol world sort of rubbed up against the rock world, but not
Yeah.
only a little bit.
Well, that segues me perfectly into what I wanted to do was asking you take it over to the Max's Kansas City scene. I know Andy hung out there more than CBGB's from what I have read.
Yeah.
Was that a part of your life back then, that venue, or was it just kind of a ship in the night kind of thing? CBG, I mean Max's brother, Max's
Oh
Kansas
no,
City.
I played Max's over 20 times. So
Oh
Max's,
wow, okay. So,
Max's the, they loved the Planets. I was
yeah.
the Planets were welcome. Uh, we got there. Rock started. Rock really. What happened was there was little trickling in, but what happened was the New York Dolls wound up with a residency at Max's, and that's what opened the door for other rock bands. And that's how we all wound up there, was because the Dolls happened. So the Max's that the legendary Max's, the Max's with Andy Warhol sitting in the back room, and Jack Nicholson stopping by, and artists like Chuck Close or whatever, that was before us. That
Okay.
those people had abandoned Max's, and right, and it was like, I don't think Max has ever had like a down period. It was like, as they were fading from the hip literary art scene, the rock was ascendant.
I
So
see.
it was a smooth transition.
So they
But
were the back room and you were upstairs in the live
yeah,
room,
exactly,
basically, kind of thing
exactly,
would be the way to put it, right?
exactly. We were an upstairs act.
Yeah. Now you had a friendship with Thunders and the Cats and Sylvain and the Cats and the Dolls.
Yeah,
Cats and the Dolls. Listen to me talking like a jazz hipster. But
unbelievable.
I wanted to ask you. I've always felt that Johnny Thunders and Sid Vicious had this thing in common where they said about Sid Vicious that he tried too hard to live up to the name,
Right.
and if they had to call them Sid Kind, he would have volunteered in soup kitchens.
Right.
I think did you think that it's fair to say that Thunders eventually maybe swallowed his own myth and felt like he had to live up to the drugged out rock star thing? You know him. That's why I'm asking. You knew the
Yeah, no,
man.
he was a friend of mine.
Seemed like a sweet guy originally, you know?
Yeah, yeah, he was sweet and smart. Uh, the truth is, much uglier. He wasn't trying to live up to anything. He was
Okay.
fucking getting high. He was getting fucking high.
Just an addict. And
That's it. I mean, no, no ulterior motive, no agenda. Just give me some shit. Just any. He was like Keith Moon. It was like, oh, here's some pills. You're supposed to take one of them. Johnny would go like that and pop all four. You hand him a joint, he'd smoke it. Hand him a tumbler of scotch, he'd throw it down. Hand him some heroin, he'd snort it. Same with coke. It was like he just, I don't know why he wanted to. I don't know what it was that
yeah,
he was escaping, because there is a large element of escaping reality with people who do drugs to that extent.
that's
But
true.
he wasn't trying to live up to shit. I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was
It
like
was just
he,
it was
he
filling a
was it.
hole,
I
right?
mean, yeah, it was like dozens of people in New York were trying to live up to Johnny, but
Yeah.
Johnny didn't have anybody to live up to. He was incredibly charismatic. I mean, he just was weird. The guy could walk in a room and it was just like,
I never got to experience that live, but even secondhand on film, like he is. He was.
yeah,
You
it's
couldn't take
riveting.
your eyes off the guy. The Nikki Sixes of the world and all these guys in the '80s, the Johnny Come Latelys, they're just watered down versions of Thunders, in my opinion. You
Yeah,
know.
totally. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. No, he was the original. And if you know he was still just dabbling when he did the solo album that has "You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory."
A great song.
If he had been able to keep his drug intake right there, right where it was when he recorded that, where it didn't like get in the way of the music. But you can see, I mean, you can find terrible videos on YouTube of him
Yeah.
just stumbling around, barely
I've
playing.
seen them, yeah.
He can't sing, and that's the thing is that the last like year he was alive, people who went to see him weren't going to hear music. They were going to see if they were going to be the night. If they were there the night that Johnny OD'd on stage. That, I mean, it's sad, but that was really what it came down to. He became this like absolute caricature
Yeah.
of I mean, and living up to it. I mean, it was terrible. He was a husk. He was 20% of the guy he used to be. And he'd come out, he could barely play. He couldn't get through a song. He would play like 30 seconds of one song and just stop and start playing another. And
So sad.
people would be like, yeah, maybe he's gonna die. So he
Yeah.
wound up I was I was I was I was kind of heartbroken, and I was also angry. I was
Yeah.
like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this to yourself?" And we kind of became estranged because he knew that unlike a lot of his friends who were just going along with it, that I was absolutely, that I smoked pot and that's it, and that I was not into that scene and that I was not I was not in favor of that scene.
Yeah.
So
You weren't also an enabler. You didn't
no, no,
enable
not,
that.
not at
You
all.
called him on it, I'd imagine.
No, no, he when he was in really bad shape, he came into the record store I was running and asked me for $10. And I said, John, you're going to spend this on drugs. And he went, yeah. I said, I can't do that. I can't. I'll be contributing to your fucking demise, dude. I can't. "Oh, okay, man." And he stumbled out. Um, he tried
Sorry,
to,
my friend. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
yeah, he tried to get up on stage with me one night at a club called the Continental, and I mean, this was practically a hero for me, and I had to go, no, no, no. I had to push him off the stage very gently, put my arm around him, and lead him back down into the audience, and just go, because it was like, I was doing a set of my songs, and it was like
Yeah.
him coming up and like, but anyway, uh,
Yeah.
the,
Maybe under different circumstances, but you know what's
the
funny? Because I always thought the saddest part was obviously the saddest part was that his sister Marianne and his kid and his wife lost, and you lost a friend. They lost a family member. But career wise, there was that area in the late '80s where Guns N' Roses were just coming out. Motley Crue was becoming a little more like glam. The silly cartoon glam of the '80s was kind of transitioning into bands like Hanoi Rocks and things like that.
right, right.
Johnny could have. He was positioned perfectly to have a comeback and kids would have bought it. I was the age I would have bought it.
Yeah.
And it's so sad that it happened as it did career wise. But for me, that's someone looking at someone I admire. For you, that's your friend, you know.
Well, I mean, I wasn't a friend of the Johnny that was stumbling through life the last couple of years he was alive.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
We completely, neither one of us saw the other at all. But I was part of the Dolls entourage in 70, 73, 74. Very close with him. He was a real sweet guy. When he was smoking pot and doing a little blow
Yeah.
on a weekend, he was a good kid. He was really nice. When the Dolls put out their first album, I brought my copy to Max's one night to have all five of them sign it. And Johnny wrote to my favorite guitarist in the USA,
Ah,
and I treasure that to this day. That's one of the finest, most important compliments I ever got in my life.
are. I mean, amongst musicians, you are known as being a cat, as I said, as the jazz guys call him, right? One of the
I
real deal
was
guys, you know.
I it I don't know how much good this did me because things were changing so drastically. I mean, like a band like Talking Heads didn't really have anything to do with Jimmy Page, But I was if you're talking about you know Jimmy Page, Pete Townsend, Jeff Beck, Jimi Hendrix style guitar playing, I was the best in New York at that time, and the people that liked it thought I was fabulous, but the people that were bored with that shit didn't care because that was the Planets were almost a throwback. We were Led Zeppelin and the Who playing CBGBs. Now we didn't sound like, I mean, we didn't ape either band. But we had that heaviness. The drummer was a Keith Moon guy. I was a Jimmy Page, Pete Townsend guitarist. And people liked us, but it's like Richard Lloyd in television once said. He said, the Planets were like a really good British band, and he said the only thing that was missing was quirk.
Mhm.
And I said, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Can you elaborate on that? I'm not. I
Well,
like
there was
quirkiness. You mean?
yeah. In other words, uh, I mean, Talking Heads, David Byrne was like pure quirk.
Mm,
Uh,
take me.
Tom Verlaine's voice was kind of quirky. The Ramones were super quirky. Uh, you know, uh, like a band called the Marbles, like we're trying to do the Beatles 1964, so they were kind of quirky. And the Planets just got up and played roaring rock and roll. We played, rock and roll. We could be an opening act for Led Zeppelin, and the kids wouldn't boo us. I don't think.
Yeah.
So we were kind of odd man out in a way. Um, we
Yeah.
we were the band that everybody thought was going to get the record deal first, and we had a terrible manager. She turned down 5 labels,
That's
and then the
that's gotta
sixth
hurt.
yeah, and then the sixth label was Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers wanted to sign us, and she didn't turn them down, but at the very last minute, we had producer lined up, we had the studio booked. She did something, and to this day, I'm not really sure what it was, but she did something that blew the whole deal out of the water. Just
Oh
like,
man.
and nobody would touch us afterward.
Hey all, Archie Gamble here, interrupting one last time. For those of you that are tuning in, I urge you to go to Amazon and buy Binky's book, My Life, the Ghost of Planets. You can get it now for an unbelievable $1.99 on Amazon as an ebook digital download. It's a fantastic book. 4.5 stars out of stars, if you look in the review section, is what it's gotten. It's an amazing tale of some of these stories and more, and I really urge you to get it. If you search through Amazon, you can also order physical copies, I believe, but I don't think it's in print anymore. But for $2, you can get yourself a digital copy right now, and I urge you to do so. Back to more Binky Adventures.
It
Is
was
that
like
right, Dave?
it was like we had to rep. We were the band that had this manager that wouldn't say yes to anybody, and then when she did say yes, she blew it. So it was like, I think if we'd fired the manager and made a big deal
Yeah.
about telling people we're no longer managed by her, I think we might have gotten some action. But we kept her way too long. We kept
Yeah.
her. We kept her. I mean, the Warner Brothers deal fell apart, and she was still our manager a year later. And when the Warner Brothers deal fell apart, we should have just gone, well, we don't know what you did, but you fucking blew it, and you're fired.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it. Also, we didn't know that. I mean, we didn't realize how many labels she was saying no to. It was like,
Till after the fact. But
it's
you
like
know what? You can take solace and comfort in the fact that it's not like these bands that were good but never even offered a deal. It's not like you weren't asked to the dance.
no,
You
no,
were
exactly.
several times. It's just
No,
bad business prevented it from happening.
it gives it's a bit of solace.
Yeah.
Not much, but it's a little bit. I mean, you know, I know that I mean, I don't know that I would have become rich and famous, but I know that I would have gotten a shot and would have worked that shot as hard as I could. I mean, it's one of the things that people should know about Kiss. To go back to them, uh, they utterly busted their ass. They worked so hard. They were so driven, and I mean, they just the success that they have, who they are now in terms of their legend and the size of the merch and the whole thing, and everybody has $300 million in the bank. They earned it. It
Yeah.
was not, it wasn't kind of some kind of stupid fluke. They didn't coast. They,
Yeah.
I think I said this last time, but I'm not a fan of the no makeup years. I kind of hate them. I just think they're awful. They don't sound like Kiss. They sound like they're trying to be the Scorpions or
Yeah.
Winger.
Which we discussed in the last
Yeah,
episode. Yeah, you that's a great story you told me, man.
very, very. It was like the one thing Kiss wasn't was generic, and with the makeup gone, they were generic. They were just a rock band, And I'm not talking about. I don't give a fuck about the make. I'm talking about the music. They got really. They took off the makeup and they got super safe.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand. I'll never understand what that was about. And I know Bruce Kulick. I mean, not like friends, but if I walked in a room, he'd go, "Hey, Binky."
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I like Bruce. He's a good guitar player, but Bruce didn't do anything. Vinnie Vincent was a complete mistake. He was just. Paul actually said to me once. He said Vinnie Vincent is the single biggest mistake Kiss ever made.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and
Wow.
and he didn't say it casually. He was like there was an
Yeah.
edge in his voice, like he was still pissed off. Yeah,
Wow. Well, I know he
I
was
don't
an
know.
odd fit, that's for sure.
I used to know. I not know, but I used to see Vinny when he worked at a guitar shop on 48th Street. So when he wound up, when I saw the picture of the new guy, I was like, that asshole from 48th Street, because I knew he was a schmuck. He was just like a he
I've seen
was.
pictures of him. We had a mustache, and he looked odd and kind of strange.
He's one of those people that like I'm somebody, and I was like, no, you're not. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll say it again. Peter, Paul, Ace, and Gene is that band. Anyway, here I'll tell you how CBGB's happened for the Planets. We had gotten thrown out of Coventry.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
one of the guys at Coventry walked up to our stage while we were playing and went like this, get off the stage.
With the Paul Sub?
No, it
Sorry.
was no one of his. No, Paul Sub was just he had nothing to do with the bands. He ran the club. I don't know who. I think his name was Tommy. Anyway, he came out and he's like standing right in front of the audiences, and we had people there. There was like 50
Yeah.
people there, and he's standing and going like this, and I lean down and I go, "This is the last song. We're almost finished." And he goes, "Like, I don't give a shit. I want you off now." And I'm standing by my mic stand, and I just impulsively kicked the mic stand at him, and the mic stand went. I can see it right now. I can see it in my mic stand went by his head like this, like 3 inches from his head. I mean, I almost got it. Anyway, he completely flipped out. He jumped on stage and just picked up the bass drum and threw it into the audience. And one of the other stupid bouncers saw what was happening, and he jumped up on stage and knocked my amp over. And I had my 59 Sunburst Les Paul on, and I'm like going, "Oh my god!" And I remember the guy that after he knocked all our equipment over, he says the guy that I'd kicked the mic stand at, he goes, "Who do you think you are, Elvis Presley?" And we were supposed to get our.
Sorry, that's fantastic.
We had 3 minutes to get our equipment out of the club, and you're never coming back. And we had told our truck driver kid who hauled our equipment to come at like 1 a.m, and it was like 11:30. And
Oh
we're
shit! So you stand on
we're
the sidewalk.
yeah, with the drum kit and anyway. And these guys pull up in a DeLorean, and they get out of the gull wing doors. They get out, and they're both obviously gangsters, like really obviously gangsters, really scary motherfuckers. One looked Irish, one looked Italian, and they go into Coventry. And so we're like we're standing around looking at the DeLorean. They were very rare. It was like, ooh, cool car. And the gangster driver had left his driver window down. And this pale blue Volkswagen comes slowly down the avenue, and it stops right next to the DeLorean, and an arm reaches out and pulls a leather jacket out of the DeLorean, and the Volkswagen speeds away, and we could hear the guy laughing in the car as he's running, and we're like, we think it's hilarious because we hate these fucking guys. They just threw us out of the club. And then all of a sudden I went, oh shit, they're going to think we did it. And our truck driver shows up half an hour early, thank God. And we get the stuff and the equipment as fast as we can. And the next morning I get a call from somebody. It wasn't Paul Sub, but somebody goes, I'm so-and-so from Coventry. And I said, yeah. And he goes, you can keep the fucking jacket, okay? I want the address book that's in the pocket, and I want that address book at Coventry in half an hour.
Oh, fuck.
And I said, all right, I'll call you back. So I tried to figure out, what do I do? What do I do? And I finally said, I guess just tell him the truth, tell him the story and see what happens. So I call him back and I said, listen, I just talked to my lawyer. And the guy goes, wait a minute, do you think I give a fuck about your lawyer?
Oh,
and I said, no, I'm just telling. He told me that I should tell you the truth, just tell you exactly what happened. He goes, okay, I'm listening. And we told him about the blue Volkswagen and whatever. And my friend Jacob, may he rest in peace, when the Volkswagen pulled out, about a minute later, Jake came up to me and said, you're going to need the license plate number of that. And he said, I don't remember, but it's whatever, BJ2611, So I told him the story. I said, it's a blue VW. The license plate, it's a New York license plate, BBRTT11, whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, this better be the fucking truth, kid. You better be telling me the fucking truth. I said, this is what happened. The next day I get a call. Hey, Binky, it's me at Coventry. We got the book back. We got the address book back. Everything happened exactly as you said it. We found that fucking VW. We got the fucking jacket back. We got the bike back. And we feel really bad because we thought you had done it. So we want to give you any Saturday you want next month. And I went, I'll call you back. I never went back to that club. Anyway, this is all by way of saying that was the only club that a band playing original material could play. It's literally the only club in New York.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, we just got thrown out of the only club that we could get booked at. What are we going to do? So we got this rehearsal loft way downtown, and one night we're coming back from rehearsal, and me and the drummer and the bass player all lived uptown, so we were splitting a cab. And the cab caught the light at Bleecker and Bowery. And I turn and I look out the window, and there's this bright white awning. It's brand new, it's crisp, and everything on the Bowery is like broken and brown and dull. And it was the worst section in all of Manhattan. And this beautiful bright white awning, and it says CBGB Omfug. And I looked at it and I turned to the other two guys and I went, maybe we can play there. I'm getting chills. And the other, oh, we didn't know. Anyway, it was just, this was like maybe 5 days before Christmas. And all the holiday bullshit, I've completely forgot about CBGBs. And early spring, maybe February or March comes around. And I'm looking through the Village Voice, and I see this little ad, two little ads. I mean, literally like this big. and one of them says Ramones CBGB's Wednesday the blah blah blah, and the other one on the other page says television CBGB's blah 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 whatever date. And I go, oh my God, CBG, it's that fucking place I saw on the Bowery. I went down there the next day with a tape, and I walked in, and Hilly was sitting in the front at the bar, and I said, "Are you the guy that books the club?" And he goes, jerks his finger back like back there, and there's this guy, very elegant guy in a suit with dark glasses and a dark club, sipping a very nasty drink. I mean, I could smell the drink from it was Angostura bitters, which
Yeah.
just smells terrible. And I said, "Do you book the club?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm Terry Ork." And I said, "I'm Binky Phillips. Here's my band. We're the Planets." And he goes, "I'll listen to it tonight. Call me tomorrow at this number." I call him the next night, and he goes, or the next day, and he goes, "I like your band. The Ramones are playing May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. You want to open for them?" And that was how we got our first gig at CBG.
Amazing.
And then the next, and then we went down. Well, the Ramones people liked us, and Terry Ork called and said, "Hey, you did good last week. How about 2 weeks from now you open for television for 3 days?" So those were our first two gigs at CBGB's.
Isn't it incredible? And that was the anniversary of which was fairly recently. I guess
Yeah,
you said May, right? This happened in May, I
yeah,
believe, when
May
the
1st.
date actually happened.
Yeah, in fact, it was 50 years ago. Holy Jesus! It
Yeah, as
was
I'm saying, the
it was
anniversary.
May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 1975. That makes it 50 years ago. 2 weeks ago. How could that be? It's like sick.
That's
I'm only
wow.
31. How can that be?
Oh,
Anyway,
Binky. Oh my
anyway,
God, I would laugh like that. Binky, I gotta tell you, we've gone so much past the time. I could keep doing this. I just feel like I'm cutting into your busy schedule. Can I ask you one? We can wrap it up with the story of your '59 Les Paul. Now, let me tell the people at home. Binky has an incredible vintage guitar collection. I'll put pictures in here of his
yeah,
various guitars. I'll pull them from Facebook if Binky doesn't mind. We haven't
that's
got
fine.
time to talk about all the incredible guitars he has, but where do you see them? But the jewel, the crown jewel, I believe, in his collection is he has a 1959 Gibson Les Paul, which we know are rare enough to begin with, that he got from Rick Derringer. Would you mind telling us that story to wrap up an amazing,
I love this story because I love the guitar. I've had the guitar now for over 50 years. Um, in 1968, it was decided by the world of rock guitars that the best guitar ever made was the Gibson Sunburst Les Paul that was made between 58 and 60. And according to the myth, the best year was 59. The 58s were great, the 60s were great, but the 59s were badass. They were the ones. So I was a freak. I had to have the best. I mean, I saw people playing Telecasters on Shindig. I had to have a Telecaster. I saw Pete Townsend smash a Stratocaster. I had to have a Stratocaster. My Eric Clapton, uh, Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, who else? Mike Bloomfield. They all had Sunburst Les Pauls. I mean, the best guitarists in the world, my heroes, were all
Peter
playing.
Green?
They were, yeah, Peter Green. They were all playing the same fucking guitar. They weren't making them anymore. They'd stopped making them in 1960 or that 61. 1961 was the first year that they weren't making them. Anyway, so they were very rare. They made 434 Les Pauls in 1959. So there are 434. Now, I don't know how many of them still exist, but I had to have one. I mean, I had to have one, and they were really rare and really expensive. And so I got two jobs. I was working at a perfume factory Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was working at the New York Times as a copy boy Saturday and Sunday. And I was going to CCNY on Tuesday and Thursday. And I was packing away all the money. I wasn't spending anything. I was still living at home. I was 19. And so I didn't have to buy food. I didn't have to pay rent. I didn't have to pay for a phone. And so all the money I was making from these two jobs was going into the bank. And at the beginning of May 1972, I had $652.80 in the bank. That's I know the number.
Memory is incredible.
Walked into I decided to cut a class at CCNY, and I went to Guitar Lab, which is this very hip, famous guitar player kind of play, like only the coolest guitar players knew about this place. And I had worked there the summer of '70, so I was like family. And I walked in, and Ricky Derringer's Les Paul, his Dark Sunburst, was on the consignment wall. And the way Guitar Lab set up, all the guitars on the south wall were repair jobs, glue drying and whatever. And all the guitars on the north wall were consignments. And there was only one guitar on the consignment wall, and it was Ricky's dark brown Les Paul. And I turned to Carl Thompson, the guy that owned Guitar Lab, and I said, "Why do you have Ricky's Les Paul on the consignment rack? Shouldn't it be over on the repair side?"
Repair wall.
Because he says, "No." He says, 15 minutes ago, Ricky called and said he wants to sell it for $600, and he owes me $50 for a repair job. So the guitar is $650. And I said, "Take the fucking thing off the wall and put it in the back room. I will be back in 2 hours with the money cash." He goes, "Don't worry, no one's going." I said, "Take it off the wall." I made it. He was, oh, and he got out behind the counter and he took it and he put it in the back room. I said, "I don't want anyone else to see that guitar." And I dashed home. I went to the bank. I closed my bank account. I got all $652.80. And I got back on the train and got back to Guitar Lab on 49th and Broadway. And I counted out 32 20s and a 10. And Carl wrote me a receipt. He put it in a case, and I took it home and opened up the case in my bedroom and held it up and said, "This is my guitar." And I've had it I played it. I played every gig at CBGB's, every gig at Max's, all the gigs I did at Mercer Arts Center, every gig until the Planets reformed in 2012.
Yeah.
And by 2012, I had about 30 guitars. So I was swapping in and out, play this Fender for this gig, play this Gretsch for this gig. But until that time, for about 40 years, or at least 35 years, the only guitar I'd go on stage with was the Les Paul. And I still have it. It's in the closet that right down the hall.
Oh man, eh?
And I at some point in the 80s, Richie Sambora offered me 60,000, and I turned him down. And 50,000, and that's cheap. There is a mint condition 1959 Les Paul on the market right now. It's $725,000.
Wow.
And that I've actually Kirk Hammett.
Yeah.
He bought Peter Green's Les Paul
That's right.
Gary Moore had. He paid $1 million for that guitar.
And yeah. Now, if I may, there was also a quick story about how Jeff Beck tried to intimidate you into selling that guitar to him.
Yeah. I knew a guy.
I'll put the picture in here. It's classic. You can see the look on his face.
Yeah.
Kid, how dare you own this guitar and I don't?
Yeah. How dare you?
What it looks like.
Yeah. Jeff Beck was legendary for his surliness, and he lived up to the legend. What happened was a friend of mine named Rob Lawrence called me and he said, "I'm doing a photo book of rock stars with their Les Pauls." And he said, "Jeff Beck is in town, but he doesn't have a Les Paul with him. Can I borrow your Les Paul for the photo shoot?" And I said, "Sure, if I come with it." And he went, "Oh, yeah, okay, you can come." So I go up to it was the Navarro, was the hotel on 59th, opposite Central Park. And we walk into, we were like on a high floor, like the 20th floor. We walk in and it's a suite. It's like a real, there's like a separate bedroom and a living room. And Jeff is sitting on the couch. And there's four of us. There was me and Rob and two other guys. I'm not sure what they were doing there, but so there's some small talk. Oh, I love your blood. This and that. The blow by blow album is a mind blower. Blah, blah, blah. And he says, "So let's see this guitar." So I open the case and I hand it to him, and he starts playing really fast lead on, like Jeff Beck. He's playing like Jeff Beck, and he goes real nasty. He goes, you know, this looks a lot like the one that was stolen from me.
Oh,
I was sitting in the chair next to him, and I stood up and I stood over him and I went, "Yeah, but it isn't. It's not the one that was stolen from you." And he goes, "Okay, all right," like, because I mean,
but he tried, didn't he?
I saw red. It wasn't. It was like an instinctive reaction. I didn't like, oh, what should I do? I just immediately was standing over him, going,
Papa
no.
Bear protected his cub.
Yeah, no, it's all right. So he sits and he plays it a little more. He goes, "So how much do you want for it?" And I said, "Are you under the impression that this guitar is for sale?" I said, "It's not for sale." And I see Jeff Beck looks at Rob Lawrence like he shoots daggers at Rob Lawrence, because I think Rob Lawrence said, "This kid is so into you that he'll sell you the guitar." I think that's what happened. So he looks at Rob Lawrence like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And I said, "You know, Jeff, there's something I'd like to do." And for some reason, I had a pen on me. And I said, "I'd like you to sign the back, sign this guitar." And he goes, "That would be fucking sacrilege, man." And I said, no. If it's your signature, it's not sacrilege. And I leaned in and I went, "Dig in nice and deep." And that finally broke the ice. And he looked at me and like with his face, he went, "You know what? You're okay."
Yeah.
You know, and he
You're all right.
he dug in, wrote Jeff Beck on the back of my guitar. And I also have Les Paul's autograph on the back of the guitar and Dave Davies from the Kinks.
Wow.
The back of the guitar was so beat up.
Yeah, road rash, right?
It didn't matter that like I was having people gouge their name into the finish, because 2/3 of the finish was gone on the back. I have a beautiful guitar. The front looks new, but the back is torn up. I mean, I played the fucking thing, and Rick Derringer played the thing. Rick Derringer said to me once, he really regretted selling it. Like he told me, like straight out, I should never have sold that guitar. And the thing he said, you know, he said, "I beat the shit out of that thing and it took it." And I went, "You know what? I'm beating the shit out of it and it's taking it." So,
well, let me ask you, Binky, is that your favorite guitar?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's your baby, right?
It's the king. It's the king. I have a great guitar collection. I have guitars that I love. You know, every now and then I try to break them down. Who's the top 5? Who's the top 10? If I could only keep 15 of them. You know, I play that every time I play the game. The first guitar, the number one guitar is that I keep is the Les Paul. If I had to sell every guitar, if somebody said they all have to go, you'll get a good price, we're going to be fair, you could only keep one, it would be, well, I'm going to keep the most expensive one, which is stupid, because if I sold that guitar, I'm in debt right now. If I sold that guitar, I could get out of debt anytime I wanted. I mean, just like bang, it would be like the next day I'd be out of debt. And
that's got to be tempting, but at the same time, it shows how much you love it, and it shows that the guitar went to the right person.
Oh, maybe I told you that the third time that Ricky called me to get it back, he called me he called about 4 months after he sold it to me. He called me up and he said, it was great. He says, "Listen, kid, I'm sorry I got to tell you, but I'm going to need the guitar back, but I'm going to give you $1,000 for it." And I said, "Ricky, it's my guitar. I paid for it. It's not for sale." And Ricky went, I'll call you back.
Hmm.
About 6 months later, he calls me back and he goes, I'll give you 2,000 for it. I said, it's not for sale, Ricky. You sold it to me. It's now mine.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be a dick, but it's not for sale. A year later, he calls me again and he goes, okay, I'll give you 5,000 for it. And they were going for about $3,000 at the time.
Wow.
And he really wanted it bad. And he said, I'll give you 5,000. And I said, Ricky, offer me 25,000. It's not for sale. And there was silence on the other end of the phone. And then Ricky said, you know what, kid? I sold it to the right guy.
And he
Which I,
did.
it was like the classiest thing he could have said. You know, I have great respect for Rick Derringer,
Yeah.
fantastic guitar player, a really nice guy, really smart, righteous. Like a lot of rock stars in the 70s, he got fucked up on cocaine, ruined a lot of shit. That stuff is the absolute worst. Absolute worst.
Yeah, I
But
watched him destroy so many good friends and good musicians
yeah,
myself. I understand.
yeah, yeah. No, it's a shame. Anyway, he got well. Although I read somewhere very recently, just in the last 2 weeks, that he's got some pretty serious health problems right now. So I
Uh,
hope he recovers.
so too. He's a legendary guy, man, for sure. And much like yourself, though, Binky. I mean, honestly, to wrap this up, we've gone twice as long as we were supposed to, and it felt like it's gone like that, which is a sign of a great conversation. I cannot tell you how much this means to me, how much time you've
Oh,
taken and been kind to me and
oh,
shared
pleasure.
these amazing stories. You are a mensch, my friend. You are amazing.
Well, and you're a killer audience.
Well, I learned to kind of hold back my enthusiasm. I learned from the first half that I was unconsciously interrupting.
Oh no,
I'm
it
used to
was
being on the
fun.
other end of the camera doing press for bands I've been in. Just not that much, but a little bit. So I'm trying to learn how to be a better interviewer. So
No,
thank you
you're
for
doing
being
great.
patient with
No,
me.
no, I love this. I think you're a fantastic interviewer. Actually,
Thank you, my
uh,
friend.
you know your subject, and you know that detail is what people are looking for. They don't want to hear the same old stories. And
I'd like
and
to
you
think
you,
so.
you pulled stuff out of me that I haven't told anybody for years.
Thank you
So
for that, Binky. That means a lot to me. That obviously, if you're comfortable enough to tell me that stuff, that is a treasure. Thank you, my friend. I'll be in touch with you as we always do. On behalf of the people, the 2,000 people that watch part two in 2 days, I thank you, and we look forward to publishing this. And I'll be in touch.
it's been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you, my
So
friend.
all
Take
right,
care.
bye.
All right.